to the Springs Radio Real Estate Show. I'm Cheryl Garlock with Colorado Front Range Properties, your host and realtor here. I want to be your realtor. Give me a call. I know a few things about this business. I hope so, Karen. I think I've been doing it for 34 years.
Yes.
So 719-321-7600. And by the way, if you want to hear a replay of our show, you missed a show or something like that, hey, go to coloradospringsbesthomes.com, click on the Extras tab, and right down below there you'll see all of our broadcasts there. And by the way, if you want to contact Karen directly, you'll find her contact information right there as well. So again, that's coloradospringsbesthomes.com. Just click on the Extras tab. Now, Karen, you know, we were talking about how to get people captured and interested in your homes, the big turn-ons for home buyers there just before break there.
Yes.
And I wanted to come back and talk to you a little bit about people who are getting ready to put their home on the market, because we should be getting an increase in inventory.
Yes.
Now that we're getting ready to move into, well, shall we say, warmer spring months and summer, you know. I'm ready for that, you know. I want to talk a little bit about first here about what kind of advice you can give people that are getting ready to put their home on the market. What should some of the basics be?
Well, we hear a lot about decluttering and depersonalizing homes, and those two items are really important, and they tie into the comment you made before we took a break there on spaciousness in a home.
Oh, yeah.
People do, whether it's a large home or a small home, they want to feel that there is room to live in there.
Mm-hmm.
And so to declutter is really important, because one thing, it feels like they do have that space. Things are not starting to sort of close in on them, and it allows them to see the nice features of your home, which is really, really important.
You know, you can also take this to the level of like closets.
Absolutely.
And you should. I used to tell my kids when I would sell our houses there in the past here, I would talk about, okay, now you guys, I got to tell you right now, it's the art of illusion. And I'd say, okay, pick out 2 pairs of shoes, and that's what can be on the floor inside your closet. You know, and then we'd have to pack up the rest, and then, you know, thin the closets out. But because you want, again, you don't want those closet spaces to feel cluttered either.
Right, that's so true. And the other one we had just mentioned was depersonalizing.
Yeah.
And that's hard for people because they have their family pictures out and they do live in the home while they're trying to sell it. But it's important that they make that decision to actually get all their family photos down. And the reason for that is that if a buyer comes into a home and they're seeing your children, your grandchildren, those are great for you, but they can't envision living in that space. When we walk into a home and we see those things, we think that, oh, this is someone else's house.
You know, not only that, but when I've shown property before and I see these family photos in there, well, it's not just me that sees them, but my clients see them, and they always stop and they look at them.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now, you know, they're not buying your photos. Okay,
So
you know, they're not buying your photos, they're buying the house. You don't want them to stop and look at the photos and study the photos. What do you want them to do, guys? You want them to focus in on your house and buy your home.
Yes, and to see themselves living in your home.
Absolutely.
And their family photos being up.
Now, let's also talk a little bit about if someone's had their home on the market for a long time, it's not selling. And remember how I was talking at the beginning of the show here, how where a lot of the foot traffic starts really is online.
Yes, it
you know,
does.
that kind of a deal there. Let's talk about home staging and how that might make a real difference for them.
Well, great.
And
Sharon.
why, you know?
Yeah. Well, let's start talking about vacant homes. And I've got some great examples, actually, that I can share that are recent. There's a house on the market for 252 days, and there was no offer on it at all. And
Really?
It went to a different agent. That agent called me in, and I staged it. And that house went under contract in the first week.
Wow.
So you might say, okay, why? Well, every house has got something different going on with it. I mean, you have to walk into a house, and that's what I do. And I try to determine, what is it about this house? If it hasn't sold, why hasn't it sold? And one of the things that I've really noticed is that in a vacant house, sometimes there's rooms in that house that people can't quite figure out how to use.
Yes.
So I always think about purpose for that room. And this one home that I was just sharing an example of, when you walked into the house and you looked to the left, there was a small vacant room, and people didn't know how to use it. And so I just made it into a nice seating room or sort of a small formal living room. And so immediately when they walked in that house, where before they were probably wondering, what is this room? They're like, oh my goodness, I could read a great book in this room. So it's thinking through those things, and a professional stager can help you think through those things.
Yeah, I think that's really important there because, you know, how many price reductions do you think they went through before they ended up getting rid of the listing as it was and going elsewhere and then doing staging? Do you have any idea how many price reductions they might have done?
Well, I really don't know. I didn't study it too much, but I can tell you that the price that it was put on the market was the same price that it was at before it went off the market. So there was no reduction in between. And there are some times where people think, oh, it must be priced too high. That's not often the case. There is something else going on there that we tend to think price will fix, but it may not fix it. And
well, this is that thing with vision.
Yes.
It's vision. It's just so visual. Now, you know, you guys are homeowners here and you got a home to sell, but hey, take some lessons from the big corporate America, the malls. And I was joking about the mannequins earlier, but they spend a lot of money on staging those little window bays.
Sure do.
You know, and having people dress and change things out. Or even if they don't have a window bay, you know, you go along the counter when you're shopping there, and they have them all staged. And they do that on purpose. Have you ever gone into, like, you know, looking at some sort of a warehouse place for, say, goods versus the grocery store or something, where they have the grocery store all staged?
Yes.
And it is. The grocery store is staged, you guys.
It is.
Totally. And it's a difference between walking into the cold concrete area, you know. So that's really what we're talking about here. So now let's also talk about if someone has, like, a dated bathroom, that kind of a deal, because bathrooms and kitchens, you know, are really, really important here. And let's talk about, should they replace out all the tile? That can be kind of expensive. What are some options that they could do?
Yeah, that's a great question, Cheryl, and it is very expensive. When you think about bathrooms and kitchens and remodeling, those are probably some of the most expensive remodels that you would do. And this really ties into our previous topic, too, if something hasn't sold for a while. Let me give you an example. Let's just take a house that might have the old hunter green countertops.
Yeah.
All right, and so someone coming in might say, oh my goodness, you need to switch out those hunter green countertops. Well, I'll come in and I'll not necessarily want them to do that. I might pair it with a more new color.
Wow.
Okay, instead of the burgundy, we might go with the cantaloupe or the new orange, and all at once it looks completely updated, and you've really spent no money but staging.
I got to tell you what, you need to talk to Karen here. She can definitely help you, but stay tuned for more from the Springs Radio Real Estate Show. We will be right back to continue.